Hi guys, just adjusting my audio just in case my desktop does something weird, because it does happen. Okay, so today's stream is going to be about a couple of things really. This one, a lot of people were saying that they wanted to discuss triggers. So triggers for a meltdown. I've got a gap here, by the way, in case Mr. Rock joins in. We do. Okay, we do have little Rock here with us today. So obviously, you know, he's aware. He knows he has autism. Just for those who are wondering, why we're discussing all this in front of him, he's very aware. He's a smart little dude. So we're just going to go straight into some of the triggers. So I'm going to switch to my other screen. I haven't made a...
Just mention that little Rock's watching on Twitch. So
yeah,
if it pops up with Rocksteady Plays,
yeah,
it's probably Little Rock typing.
Yeah, that's true. So in the Twitch, Little Rock is watching. And if there's any chat, it is Little Rock. So you're more than welcome to say hi to him, obviously. So we are looking at triggers for a meltdown. They're all different. There's no generic, you know, they do have certain ones that are similar, but everyone will be different. So I have this page up here. I haven't made a slide for this one because I'd really like other people to have an input on this stream if possible. Let me just get comfy. If anybody here has autism or knows anybody with autism, feel free to chat and we will respond to you all. I have both the Twitch and the YouTube chat up. And yeah, let's get into it. So, anticipating a meltdown. So, normally there are triggers. You can't always see those triggers, especially if you're dealing with a child, because, you know, they might only be very subtle triggers, especially if it's something sensory. So many autistic people will show signs of distress before having a meltdown, which is sometimes referred to as the rumble stage. Hi, Little Rock. And Kimberly, you have a friend who has autism. Any of this stuff is going to be useful for anybody who knows somebody with autism. So it's known as the rumble stage, where you can kind of tell something's coming. They may start to exhibit signs of anxiety, such as pacing, seeking reassurance through repetitive questioning, or physical signs such as rocking or becoming very still. So it can be the complete opposite. You might see a child fidgeting a lot, or just becoming very still, or becoming withdrawn, or becoming very loud. So they can be polar opposites. At this stage, hi everyone on the Twitch. At this stage, there may still be a chance to prevent a meltdown. So we looked last week at strategies and prevention. Not last week, sorry, the week before. So preventing meltdowns and how best to go about it in the heat of the moment, if you can't avoid those meltdowns. So strategies to consider briefly include distraction, diversion, helping the person using calming strategies such as fiddle toys or fidget toys, or listening to music, removing any potential triggers, that's crucial, and staying calm yourself. That is probably the most important thing. You've got to stay calm yourself, otherwise you're useless to that child or person. And we'll talk more about that when we discuss dealing with other people's ignorance as well, because that is important, to staying calm and identifying the causes. So excuse me. A meltdown is a reaction to an overwhelming experience. If your family member or the person you support has meltdowns, identify what is overwhelming for them. It's really important. A diary can really help with that, recording what's happened before. Really think about what's happened before. It could be something simple as a bright light or a noise, a particular noise it could be. So,
Hello.
Kimberly, I can't stay for long since I need to make sure I know. You need to practice, Kimberly. So don't worry, and thank you for being here, no matter how long you're here for.
And I know we've said it, but good luck for tomorrow.
Yes, good luck.
I'm sure you don't need it, but you'll be excited to hear how you get on tomorrow.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know in our Discord. So, you might find that meltdowns occur at particular times of the day. They might occur at particular places, or when something particular has happened. So minimize those triggers. Obviously, you have to find out what those triggers are. Consider sensory problems, because they can be big triggers. We know for Edward, they are, usually his triggers are something sensory. It's usually noise. Noise is a big trigger for Edward. So many autistic people have sensory differences. So we discussed this in one of our first streams. They may be oversensitive to some senses and undersensitive to others, or a combination of both. little Rock put salty in the chat.
Or salty.
Salty.
It's a salty stream.
It is funny. He's not feeling well today, guys. I've had to keep him off. Because speaking of triggers, he's got COVID symptoms, and we haven't been able to test him. That was a trigger for us this morning.
We tried.
We tried to test him.
We'll try again tomorrow.
I apologise, the crow again.
But,
every stream.
Yeah, that was difficult.
Trying
to get the testing.
It was. So, for example, for someone who is oversensitive to touch and sound, people just simply brush them past. Oh, thank you, Kimberly. People just brush them past them. And a loud announcement at a train station, all of a sudden, it can cause pain. Physical pain. And I know that's really hard for us to understand. How can that cause pain? But I've seen the reaction that Edward can give when something sudden happens like that, something unexpected. It's usually a buzz noise or something like that, and he's clearly in pain. Now that he's older, we were able to ask him.
We were always trying to wrap our heads around that, but
yeah, like how
was
can that
research we were doing. It was a couple of years back, because we, speaking with doctors or people that were assessing them, were kind of saying that you can experience pain. So I was trying to wrap my head around how that works, because normally you would just think that physical pain is pinching yourself, getting hurt physically, but for something that is not physical, if that makes sense, to cause you physical pain is really hard for me to try and understand. Still is, but I've got more knowledge about it now, which helps me to be able to deal with the situation, manage it if it happens,
And I think it's important to understand as well that their brains are wired differently. So what doesn't cause pain to us may cause pain to them. The wires that in the brain, I know there's not actual physical wires, but the neurological parts of the brain lead to many different places. It's just wired in a different way. So something loud to Edward can cause him physical pain. Cutting his hair when he was younger, that was terror.
That was
to
really...
him. It was real terror. And he's got this hair that just grows
the only way
that
to put
way.
It, really. Poker straight.
Yeah, poker straight hair that just grows downwards. We had to cut it.
Yeah, I mean, we'd try ourselves and it'd just be like...
Don't ask for those photos.
Again, if anyone was to be walking outside, they would probably think he was getting up. Yeah, someone was getting murdered.
Yeah,
was that
he would. He'd be cutting his nails.
bad that, his eyes would be red, tears would be streaming, it was so awful, that we just, and that was with no one touching him, holding him, no one was pinning him down.
Just putting the scissors on his head and screaming.
And I think it was a combination probably as well of
fear,
panic and fear, because,
fear,
lack of understanding when you've got this sharp tool coming towards you as well. You're probably thinking you're going to get hurt and cut. But then it's exploring the sensation of that as well. That's it. We had to... there was one person that could cut his hair. Yeah. And it's still kind of, sort of like that to this day. He has tried a few other people. Yeah. One of our friends' husbands got a barber shop. He'd go there a couple of times and he was okay with that because he knew him. Yeah. But we've got a local hairdressers that we'd taken to, and there was one particular lady who... Paula. Would be able to cut his hair for them, and it'd only be hair. And to this day, it's still kind of like that. But whatever she does, it works the magic anyway. But it doesn't cause
nice and chatty, and I think it takes
stress.
mind.
Lollipops help.
Lollipops do help, but they get hair on stuck to them, which
can cause a problem.
Yeah, that can cause another meltdown.
So we have to go with lots of lollipops.
Yeah, lots.
And that's hard for me because I want to eat them. But no, I can't do that. No eating the lollipops. So that was, I suppose, that was an example of...
Yeah, simple things that don't hurt us can hurt them.
Like a sensory trigger.
Yeah, and it helps because, as an outsider looking in, if you see any child or autistic person, adult or child, having a meltdown, consider that they might be feeling pain. It's really important because there's a lot of ignorance surrounding autism, which is really
Yeah.
sad. And I'll probably, you know, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to struggle to talk about that shortly.
Like there is with most things, but
Yeah.
autism, I've noticed, in my opinion, people using it more now,
Oh,
like
an insult.
like a discriminative,
Yeah.
using it as like a discriminative tone, really. Where it's, you know, I've heard a couple of people use it, especially some younger generations as well, where it seems to be
Like, stop being
how's it the way I'm
autistic
putting
and,
it? Yeah.
you know, using it in that kind of context, like an insult.
Yeah.
Well, I lost me thread then. Oh, good luck, Kimberly.
Yes.
Get practicing.
Good luck.
Little Rock's just put in the chat there. The noise can scare autism people.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which
it
is,
can,
well,
Little
yeah,
Rock.
that's great for him as well, because
Levy.
he's, you know, he's
Being honest,
coming from the little guy himself.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Scares, yeah, which can again do with a lot of people, but
Yes.
I can only imagine it's 10 times more intense.
So
yeah, I forgot
sensory
what I was saying.
considerations, definitely sensory considerations are the first port of call for us,
Big
because it's
time.
usually something sensory. So we would normally remove bright lights, turn the television down or off, any background music, anything like that, take it away. He's not the type of person who would, you know, change his mood if I was to put like relaxing music on, or, you know, that kind of thing. It's just extra noise to him. But he likes to feel safe. He doesn't like to be touched. So, which is hard, you know, as a parent, because all you want to do is hug them, and, you know, but I have to give him that space. Otherwise, it's going to, you know, it'll flow into a meltdown.
The hug can come later.
Yeah. The hug, they do, and they do as well, like, they really do.
Could be hours later, but yeah, at that moment in time, it's not happening.
Yeah. Under the salty. So changing routine can be a very big trigger. That is a difficult one for people with autism who like, you know, really like their routine and really like things to be just so. So predictability is really important. If something happens that's unpredictable, that's a trigger. And you probably will notice that. It can be something as simple as Christmas is coming up, so the decorations come out. In school, all things change in school as well around Christmas, so they haven't got the structure that they normally have. They usually have a lot of unstructured time in the classroom, which isn't good for people with autism. They thrive off structure. So you know, if your child's a little bit unsettled in the run up to Christmas, Easter, any times like that, it's probably due to a bit more unstructured times before the school holidays and things like that. Things that can help that: pictures, now and next charts. You can talk to them about it, you know, even if they're non-verbal, talk to them. Let them express their frustration as well, in an appropriate manner, obviously. And then follow it with something calm. That can always help. It may help to increase structure around ordinary transitions. So things like changing from one activity to the next. So right now we're doing a puzzle, but next we want to do colouring in. Try and put something in there, like a now and next board, that can prevent meltdowns. You know, because a change like that, it's like, wow, hang on a minute, we're doing a puzzle. You know, you're throwing the next thing at me, and that can throw them. So we don't use it as much now, But we do if we know that there's, you know, anything big happening, changes. You know, we've got it's like a whole week thing. So if something big's happening that week, you know, we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, school, and then at the weekend it'll be whatever we're doing. If it's something different that he's not used to doing,
kind of like a now and next
Yeah.
chart, but
like a
like
what
a
do you
whole
call it?
week.
Like a timetable,
Yeah.
I suppose.
That's a bit more friendlier.
Yeah. Now and next board for younger children is great because they're not thinking about what's happening at the weekend. You know, they're thinking what's happening now. But the next thing, you know, it does help to have a picture of what you're going to be doing next.
Yeah.
It takes away that uncertainty for them. Use a clear timetable explaining when the transitions will be as well. So, like I said, for younger children, you know, use now and next. For older children, use a timetable. It does help. And timers. Oh my God. Where's that timer?
I think it's upstairs. I'll go and grab it.
We'll grab it in a minute. We have a timer.
Yeah.
And
we've had that
I
for
kid you not, it's saved
while
our
now.
lives. Yeah. Years.
Yeah.
The batteries run out quite frequently, but
Yeah.
but it is very, very
'Cause of
useful.
how often it's used.
It's a
I'll go and grab it.
it's a, what's it called?
It's like a traffic light
It's a traffic light timer.
timer. Yeah.
And honestly, it's the greatest creation for a person with autism, or any child for that matter. You could use it with any child, and it's fantastic. You can program it so that it, you know, you can have 3 hours on it if you like. You can have 24 hours, but you can program it so that it's green, yellow, red. So your green is, you've got lots of time. Yellow, nearly up. Your time's nearly up. And then red is, okay, we're stopping this activity now. We're moving on to the next. It can be really useful for just brushing the teeth, getting a bath, you know, because as much as Edward likes to get, you know, in his bath, he doesn't like to get out. So we need that for every bath. Getting dressed in the mornings, time to go to school, you know, anything like that. It's fantastic. And this is it. Sent from the gods of Amazon. It is the greatest creation. It also has a volume button here because obviously children with autism, not all of them are into noise. So you can turn it right down. We have ours up only a tiny little bit so that he can hear it. Are you looking at your little timer on here, Edward? Can you see your little timer? No. It's the best. Bun. Yes, this is the greatest creation. At the top as well, because Little Rock, he likes to know the time, even though he can't quite tell the time yet. He's 7. So he is just learning the dust on this. My God, that's how long we've had it. But at the top, okay, Little Rock. At the top, it's got, obviously you can see where it says clock. That's why it's saying that it's 7 minutes past 2 a.m. It's not. I just haven't set the time on it, but you can, if you just go to menu, we go to auto timer, and let's say he's got 3 minutes for a task. So I'll set it to 3 minutes, and then we just press start, and I turn it to the side because it's very bright for Edward. He doesn't like it. It's quite bright, especially when the batteries have been replaced. So I just sit that somewhere, and then he knows how much time he's got, because I've set the time, the amount of time. So it counts down at the top as well, so that they can look at the time and the light. That has been a godsend. So you'll hear it shortly when it goes to the orangey yellow, and then you'll hear it when it goes to the red. Totally recommend it. It's called Time Tracker on Amazon. It's not cheap. I think it was £25. In fact, do you know what? I'll have a look for it. Amazon. Time Tracker. So it's kind of like that. This is it. Learning resources. Time Tracker. Great, honestly. It's like the best creation ever. We've tried all kinds. We tried egg timers. We tried those little jelly oil things that come down. Nothing worked, but that did. That did. So that is going to help with time and changing routines and starting a task and finishing it. Anxiety. Yeah, with its unwritten rules and unpredictable nature, the world can be an extremely challenging environment. Anxiety can be a trigger. Without tools and strategies to help manage their feelings of anxiety, they're probably gonna experience a meltdown at some point. This website, by the way, is autism.org.uk. It's really useful. They're a fantastic charity. They help with so much. They are full of advice, full of information, really useful. So build relaxation time into your routine. That's going to change now, so it's flashing. Then it goes to orangey yellow. It's the only way I can describe it. So have a plan beforehand on what to do if someone's anxious, because you can help prevent it. And obviously it's going to be less of a trigger that way. Communication difficulties can be a trigger because it's frustrating. And here we go. So it's gone to red, and when that red goes off, task's over. So there we go, it's doing it now. You can set this so that it'll stay on green for a certain amount of time, it'll go to orange for a certain amount of time, and it'll go on red for a certain amount of time, so that it's not going through too quick, because the orange and the red are quite quick. It has like a ratio depending on how much time you put into it, into the top. So communication difficulties, yes, they are big triggers because it is frustrating when they can't express something, especially the younger they are. If they're non-verbal, then that can be even more of a struggle. I mean, how would you tell someone that you need a drink if you're non-verbal? So that can be a massive trigger. It can result in, obviously, a lot of anger, and it'll lead to a meltdown. So that's a huge trigger, not being able to talk, not being able to get the words out that you want to get out, because you don't have to be non-verbal to struggle to express what you need. Edward's verbal. He's not non-verbal, never has been non-verbal. But he does struggle to express what it is that he needs or his emotions. So that be huge
really
trigger.
Frustrating for him then.
Yeah.
When he's trying to get across something that he wants, but he just can't express it in the right way.
It's very difficult.
Not all the time, but sometimes.
No, not always, but a lot of the time, he can. So ways that you can help that is visual supports again. So like now and next, or, because you can get a child to choose what they want to do next. The thing is they might want to do something, but the change can still throw them even though they want to do something new. So you can allow them to do their own now and next board if that's what you want. Social stories can help, visual support. So on my Etsy, I've made emotions and feelings cards, which are very useful. You know, you can go through each one, your child can point to it.
For anyone who doesn't know, Etsy, it's like having an online shop.
Yeah.
But they're like digital downloads, aren't
Yeah.
they, for people,
I'll get them up. Let's see. I'll
So
get up
a
what
couple
I
more
made.
ideas that we've got for it as well, which we'll get round to this year on top of other projects that we've got going.
No, I won't sign in, but hang on. I'm not signed in, so I'll leave that for another time.
We'll at some point, maybe
I'll
for the
pop
next
them in
stream
the
or
Discord.
something,
Yeah.
or we'll put a link or whatever to it.
Yeah, I'll pop them in the Discord because they are great and they're really
Yeah.
useful. Modify how you speak. Use less words. It's always useful. You know, if your child's having communication difficulties and you're rambling on, it's going to go nowhere. An increasing understanding of emotions and social skills. So help them to learn, you know, that even if they are non-verbal, they can still learn. And they can still learn about what's socially acceptable and what's not. So do try your best to learn those triggers. They are generic. Everybody's going to be different. There's going to be specific triggers that you're going to find with your child or the person that you know. Learn them, ask them. You know, if it's somebody that you know who's an adult or older child, ask them what it is that sends them, you know, to a meltdown. I'm pretty sure they will want to tell you because it's helpful and useful. You can help them. And you can make that clear to them as well, that, you know, you can help. So I had a little look on what autistic people said triggers their meltdowns. And the first one that came up was changes in routine. So while there are some truly spontaneous people out there, most of us feel most comfortable when we stick to a routine. So we know what to expect. Of course, sometimes things don't go as planned, which can be stressful. Now that is for a neurotypical person. It can be stressful. But for you know, it can feel like the end of the world to somebody with autism. The disruption from a change in routine can seem magnified and for some lead to a meltdown. So somebody called Crystal said, changes in my routines. Understand that long distance travel is dysregulating for me and I need structure and routine. Don't be upset if I don't go to your long distance event. Also, don't try to get in the way of my routines. I will turn you down. So, it's like PSHCE. Thank you, Bon. So, when something doesn't go the way I planned, that's a trigger. Mostly just change within my routine or just unexpected things happening. New places, like visiting a city or place for the first time, a conversation with strangers. It goes that far that I'm literally not able to order food at McDonald's. People pressuring me. So that's what another person said about changes. You know, it can be as simple as that, just going and ordering something at McDonald's. They've never seen the person before. That's it. They shut down.
And that can be a daily challenge for the routine thing as well, you know, because it can be
really
anything from travel to
getting on a bus,
something happening in the house or workplace or school, you know.
You know, that's related to anxiety as well. So anybody who's watching this who does suffer from anxiety will know that feeling.
Just anxiety on its own can cause distress.
But they're dealing with that on a daily basis, and medication won't help that. So too much noise or loud sounds. So we spoke about the sensory. Somebody called Catherine said noise, too many people. And I think the worst for me is mess.
Mess is a good one. Well, not a good one, but a good point.
It really is a big point,
because
and it's a trigger for Edward.
Yeah, that's where I'm working with that one as well. And sometimes the mess can be created by him.
Yeah. Well, most of the time, but, the mess is created by him.
At the minute we're decorating at the minute, so that disrupts routine.
Yeah.
Causes a mess. So yeah, that can be difficult. I mean, he's handling it well because it's probably because of the way we've explained it.
Also because he's not well, so he's a little bit more lethargic than usual. So he's not as trigger happy today, to put it politely. So trigger wise, it's all over the place, from any loud sound to something that disturbs or startles me.
Yep.
So that's what someone called Cameron said. Any loud noise or weird smell, or if I get too excited.
Yeah.
That's another big trigger.
The excitement can lead to being then overstimulated.
Very, yes.
Which then has the opposite effect.
Mm-hmm. Like climbing up to the very top of the Anglican Cathedral in Liverpool.
Yeah.
So excited, absolutely beside himself with excitement, and we got to the top and we're talking how many 100 feet?
I think it's a few.
And it's not all that secure up there, there's places that, if you were to climb a little tiny bit.
Oh, it's exposed up at the top.
You could fall. So that resulted in a meltdown for us, because obviously then we're having to keep him close, and he's just wanting to go and see everything.
The weather didn't help
excitement,
because it was a windy day, so then I was a bit wobbly on my feet because
it was terrifying.
I'm not the best with heights. I'm okay, but not the best. So you've got your own emotions going on in your mind as well, and that was
it didn't go too well.
I think it was about
okay
5 minutes roughly. It seemed like 5 hours that we were dealing with the situation. Everything calmed down after it, and we were able to go around the top, looking out looking down at the
check out the videos
the city
on
and
YouTube.
Stuff. Yeah, it
you
is
just
actually,
don't see the meltdown. Obviously, that bit was cut out.
But yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah.
Meltdown of 400 feet.
It was crazy.
I don't know if it was 400, but
it
felt like 3,000 feet.
High. It really is high, and it was really scary for us. Not for Edward. Edward was just beside himself, too excited, and then obviously it ended up in screaming and, not wanting to be touched, but at the same time we're having to grapple him, which wasn't exciting, to say the least. So too many people, too loud, too busy, way too much noise. Anything like that can be a massive trigger. Feeling overwhelmed in a new environment, that kind of ties into being excited as well. It doesn't always mean that, they're going to be excited, but especially, if it's something new and they're not sure. Not understanding when I have truly done or said something wrong or offensive, or if the person who is telling me off is just a jerk. So communication with people, or like school, that can be a trigger in itself, just being around people.
Especially as we all know the environment that you're in as well.
It matters.
You get good teachers, not so good teachers sometimes. You get good pupils or students, not so good, and so that can be... That can be a
and people
very,
are unpredictable,
very big challenge.
Like, especially children. So, you've got Edward sitting there in school who's not very unpredictable, really, in school anyway. He's very good in school. He's a master at masking. So he'll sit there being as good as gold, and then there's one child over there, let's say, who just does something and throws something very quickly, and that, you know, that will totally unsettle him. And yeah, it could lead to a meltdown. Not in school. It'll happen after school with Edward, because he bottles it in.
Well, that this is a good point here as well. It says, but with Andy again, bullying affects me badly. It's this point as well that I was just reading. Emotional/mental overwhelm when in new environments, trying to cope with it without showing that I am struggling.
Yeah.
That is probably the masking side of things as well, which is
this person obviously masks
coping.
Well. Yeah.
Coping with it inside without showing, you know, that they're struggling inside.
That's got to be hard.
Yeah.
You know, you're pretending that you're something you're not. If you're masking, you know, it's not a good thing for any autistic person to feel that they have to do. Anyway, they should be able to be themselves, but, you know, it's really sad to me that Edward doesn't show his real self in school. It is sad, and I wish he would, because then we'd probably get all the help that we needed from school. Yes, that's a whole other topic. So he also said others can help by thinking before they speak and be aware of their prejudices. Hi, Mom.
Hey.
Hi.
Which is what we all wish, really.
Yeah, and we will be going
that
on
the world
to that.
would be a better place.
Yeah.
Which is that comment. It could probably go a long way for everything really in the world. Without me going into it all, but yeah, that if people could just think a little bit more, we're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
You know, we all do it.
Yeah.
Don't think before we speak sometimes, but yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, especially, you know, if you're talking to somebody new, they could have autism. So be careful how you speak. Make it easy for yourself to be understood, or, you know, anything like that. You've got to take people at face value, always. So places with too many people, we discussed that, but somebody called Moni said, I have less meltdowns now as an adult, but because I learned to identify the factor that triggered my meltdowns. This is why it's really important. You know, you can help your child learn what their triggers are, and they can help themselves to avoid them too. I used to get them quite often, things like places with a lot of people around the mall, weddings, at a club still make me nervous, too much noise. The one thing that really calms me down is taking breaks that last like 10 or 15 minutes, just being by myself in a quiet place. It's really important to have sensory breaks.
Yeah.
So, especially, you know, if the triggers are something sensory, then to have a sensory break, which is where, you know, you just take yourself away from all of that.
Well, that goes back to what you was mentioning kind of at the beginning of the stream, where it was, you know, if there's an overload going on, you could have a lot of things going on in the house. Telly could be on, there could be music playing, washing machine on the go. You know,
something as simple as the kitchen. We've got those bar lights.
It's trying to, you know, in that moment in time, you know, if there is a meltdown on the go or you can see one about to develop, it's about sort of thinking ahead. So you start getting things as quiet as you possibly can, so that there's nothing else in the background that is just gonna keep the meltdown flowing. So them sensory breaks are
really crucial. Yeah. Really crucial, especially for younger children, you know, who are in a classroom. It's important that you get teachers around them to understand that they might need a break, and it's not, you know, it's not a crime to let the child go and have 10 minutes in a sensory room or outside on the playground or somewhere in the school that's quiet. Let them. You've got to let them, because if you're going to keep them cooped in that over sensory environment. You know, expect a meltdown, or if not, you're giving a meltdown to their parents when they pick them up.
Especially when a
it's
school's
no fun.
put the effort in to create that sensory room with everything kind of in it that it needs.
That's what it's there for.
But
Most
it's
schools
only
have
kind
them
of prioritised for maybe certain categories of children, and unfortunately it's not used for everyone in the school.
They're not used enough.
The school knows who's in the school, and you know, down on paper or through them just simply knowing who the students are, they're gonna know who needs it and when they need it. You know, but sadly,
it's not
all
utilised
schools,
enough.
but in most cases, you know, it's overlooked and ill used. You know,
it is.
It's what's the point in having it?
Exactly. You know? It's just a useless waste of space, really, if it's not getting used.
It's a storage room, essentially.
I've just seen it. Hi, Roscoe. How are you doing? Hope you're good, mate. So another one is unmet basic needs. So it's hard to be at the top of your game when you're missing out on some of your basic needs like food, water, sleep. little rocks looking at me. Yes, missing out on basic needs like sleep. He's hiding now.
Hi, Roscoe.
Oh, that's good to hear, Roscoe. I'm glad you're okay. Yeah, just 1 second. Just bear with me one momento.
Let's just get that unusual
There we go.
bot spam that comes through.
Weird things. Anyway, so someone else here called Severus. What a name. Severus Snape. I get meltdowns quite often when someone's yelling. It doesn't need to be directed at me while I'm not able to understand why. Or when I get frustrated with a given task and I'm not allowed to ask for help. In other cases, I usually get meltdowns when I am expected to hold a presentation in front of unknown people, or in general, just too many people. So, you know, I don't think any teacher or, you know, parent should take any child out of their comfort zone. If they're not comfortable getting up and talking in front of a class, don't make them. Just don't make them do it. It's not comfortable. And, you know, you're forcing them to do something that they're just not happy doing. Don't do it. They don't need it. It's not a life... I mean, it's a skill. A lot of people have got that skill, but a lot of people don't, and you don't need to be autistic to not have that skill, you know? I'm okay with speaking in front of people, but... Well, like this, like here, I'm not comfortable with talking to a crowd of people, but I'm good here. I'm okay. I'm behind a screen. I'm safe.
See, whereas with me, I don't mind.
Yeah, you're good with public
having
speaking.
People, you know, it still makes you feel a bit nervous building up to it, but you know, it's I'm okay with that. You know?
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
But you just wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't force an adult to do it, would you?
No.
You know, don't make a kid do it.
Again, which boils back to the comment from, I can't remember if it was Andy or not, you know, who said it's about kind of thinking.
Yeah.
You know, or thinking in the moment as well. There might be a reason
Think before
for that.
you speak.
So, rather than forcing them up there.
Yeah. Oh, come on. You know, it's easy. No, it might
Which I guess
be,
some people want to encourage, but then it's about
it's okay to
understanding
encourage.
Who's in your class.
Yeah.
You know, it's
it's
not rocket science,
no.
You know.
So the unmet basic needs things, you know, that it speaks for itself. You know, meltdowns are caused by tiredness, lack of food, too much people contact, dehydration. The key to fewer meltdowns is balance. A good 8 hours of sleep, nutritious food, with protein, water, and peace and quiet. You know, at the end of the day, I know if Edward's gonna be unsettled, if he hasn't slept very well. If I can see he's teetering on a meltdown, I'm like, when's the last time he's eaten?
Yeah.
When's the last time he's had a drink? You know, when's the last time he's had a break? You know, and those are the things that I'll cram in there. And if he's still unsettled, I know it's something else.
That's it.
So
I
its
think
basic needs are a must.
I think we were going over a bit of that in one of the other streams,
Yeah.
I think, in a bit more
The
detail
last
with
stream,
the
yeah.
kind of looking at
Hi, Kimberly.
anything just before trigger points, you know, it might just be a simple case that he's hungry, got
Yeah.
an empty belly, you know, straight back
Simple
from
as that.
school,
Hi,
hungry.
Bon.
So yeah, it's filling the tum-tum.
Fill in the tum, definitely. And it doesn't even really matter a lot of the time, you know, if they're just feeling peckish, just give them what they want. When people aren't on your level, okay, so that's yeah, I get that one. So being ridiculously outspoken has helped me to get a position as the head of discipline for a high school of over 600 students. You can imagine in that situation that meltdowns are predictable, primarily because of the amount of interactions I have to have daily. So this person, Darren, is a high school head of discipline, which just proves to you that, you know, people with autism can just excel. And they do, you know, they do. Roscoe, meltdowns can be sometimes compared with, a volcano erupting or a nuclear reactor overheating, and then eventually it does blow, no matter how long you try to contain it when stressed. That is very, very true. You know, a lot of the time there isn't any way of kind of diverting it and taking a different path, you know. Trying to, I think once you've reached, you know, we did that scale thing the other week. I think once you've reached like 3 on that, bear in mind 5 is the actual meltdown. I think when you've reached 3, you're at a point where, you know, you're likely at no return. It's hard to come down from just that little, it's like a snowball. That's how I see it. It's like a snowball effect, and it just gathers and gathers and gathers, and then all of a sudden it rolls down the hill. So yeah, it you know, obviously when people aren't listening to you or they don't understand, that is going to be a major trigger. Sensory overload, we spoke about that, but somebody called Diana said overstimulation for sure. That's a trigger. Too much light, too many people in a room, too many stupid conversations about nothing, too much noise, including certain kinds of pop music. I just can't take it, said Susan. Triggers, says Wendy, too many things to do, not feeling well, sensory overload, being pressed for time, trying to handle an emergency, too many things going wrong, too much time around people. So, you know, these are things that could easily trigger a neurotypical person. You know, it's hard to kind of define, but it's about obviously being able to control that. If you're autistic, it's difficult to control that, and I totally understand. Especially like, you know, like we said, some of Edward's sensory issues can cause him pain. So that is something that we can't understand. So I think that's probably gonna cover it. So when things feel out of control, feeling trapped, uncomfortable social situations, these are all, you know, we covered them in the meltdowns. So it brings us onto our next topic, and I think I need a little toilet break before this.
Well, should we Like on
I'll whack on a
a
song.
BRB and a song.
Yeah,
and then
I'll put on the BRB and a song.
We'll dive back in.
Yeah, and then we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Couple of minutes, yep.
I need to go to the toilet. I'm getting big, guys. I'm 20 weeks pregnant now, so sitting in the chair for too long doesn't do me any good anymore.
It's nice. Been eating too many pies.
So this is the bump. Hang on, can you see it? Try and get to the side so that you can see it. She's getting big. So I will be right back in 5 minutes, guys, and we'll talk about our second subject, which is dealing with other people and their ignorance. That'll be fun.
from beneath the sand. Place can take me across, seems so far away. Across this universe, she lives another day. I know the reason she stays. I know the reason she's so far away. We go home, when we run from everything we have done. It only takes us one more day to run. We go home, when we run from everything we have done. It only takes us one more day. We go home, we run, we go home, we run, we go home, we run, we go home, we run.
Playing.
Intermission.
Cue the music.
That's very true. So I've gone back to full
And
screen
mum
now
as well, yeah,
because
dealing with other people.
yes, dealing with other people. That's the hardest thing. That's a cute bump. Thank you, Mum. She is a cute bump.
Who, me or this distract?
Me. No, you've got a cute bump too, John.
It's all those mince pies.
It is, yeah.
Keeping them warm for this Christmas.
Your mum's laughing. So, yes, trigger warning. Other people can be tricky to deal with.
Humans.
We'll talk about our experiences, and I've also got a couple of pages up ready for ways that you can respond, which is very difficult in the moment, but obviously, you know, you have to deal with it. Sadly, it's one of those things that, you know, people are just ignorant. People don't care, or they just don't understand. And that's why we're here today, you know, to help people to understand that, you know, if
Particular
you see...
people.
Particular people, not everybody, you know, not everybody at all. Let me just get comfy for this. By the way, if you can see bits all over me, it's painting. It's been paint day, so...
Not dandruff.
It's not dandruff. Well, no, it is, because my scalp's been crazy since I've got pregnant, but... Anyway, so... probably the first experience that I can remember having was when Edward was very, very young. He was probably 1, if that. He was in his pram when we were going to Tesco, and I have spoke about this before, you know, where we'd go into a big shopping centre and the bright lights, the sounds of the fridges, lots of people, you know, it's a trigger for Edward. So, just outside, you know, I brought him outside because take away the triggers, you know, and I knew at that age, I knew that he was autistic. We both did, you know, I took him to the doctors lots, and they were like, no, you need to wait, and
Yeah.
I knew anyway, you know, when he finally got his diagnosis when he was 5. So we'd known all that time. So we took him out. We'd finished our shopping anyway. We were only going in for a few little bits, and there was two old ladies sitting on a bench, and they were obviously
It's not a
shocked.
joke, by the way. It sounds like a joke.
Yeah, it sounds like the beginning of 2 old ladies sitting on a bench. Well, they were a bit of a joke, but there we go. And, you know, you give them their due. They probably don't know about autism or much about it, because it is something that is a lot more understood now than back when they were younger. And when I say old, I mean like they were in their like 70s or 80s.
Relics.
Real old people. And I could overhear them, and I could see them, and they were looking and, you know, giving those looks, like rolling their eyes. And, you know, I wasn't about to tell Edward off. I was trying to comfort him, which was just making him feel worse. Hi, Brett. We're talking about ignorant people, Brett.
Hey Brett, I was expecting Stop the Pigeon.
Yeah.
The other is that is that a different account? Is it?
It's on his it's on.
Oh,
his,
is that on Twitch? Is
yeah,
it? Yeah,
on Twitch. So, this old lady then said, what was it? She said, that child just needs a good slap. And something about me being a bad mother. And yes, we're used to ignorant people as well, Brett, don't worry. But that was the first experience I'd had of ignorance, and it took me a lot to not go over and do exactly what she wanted me to do to my son. To her, you know, it was extremely.
It opens up your
upsetting.
eyes more because I mean it exists on a day-to-day basis, but you know beforehand you just kind of go about your life, you know, kind of bypassing it, not really noticing it with other people and stuff. But when it kind of happens to you, it's kind of like whoa.
And
it's
massive, you know. That's your child that you know they're saying that needs to be physically hurt. Why? You know, it's absolutely awful, you know, the feeling that you get as a parent. You just see red. You see red. How I dealt with it, I loudly offended her and walked away. That's how I dealt with it then. I deal with things different now, but, you know, I'll be honest with you. I said a few interesting words that I won't repeat, and she just stared at me and I walked away with Edward in the pram, and that was that. Numerous occasions things like this have happened. I'll let Mr. Rock tell about the one in Torremolinos. That was interesting.
Yeah, for our honeymoon, we went to Torremolinos. Everything was run of the mill, absolutely fine. Went out for a little jaunt around the local town. You know, as you know, in most places in Spain, you get these kind of little side streets and stuff, little stalls, little tourism stalls, you know, postcards, magnets, all that stuff. But this one had toys. Lots of toys, all outside. So we got this kind of police car, you know, it's got all the alarms and the bells on it, and it twists and spins and does all crazy stuff.
Very loud, very bright lights.
So
as well.
we bought that because that's what he wanted.
But he wanted the one that was already on the floor spinning round.
Yeah, which was the guy's kind of like, you know, display one.
So it was a bit bashed up. So we wanted to get him a new one.
He was already a little bit up and down because we couldn't just pick that one up and sort of walk away with it. So we got one in the box. You know, we had to put batteries in it and everything as you do. And so he was already kind of half upset at that point, so we bought the toy anyway, and we're walking out of this side street into kind of like the main square, if you want to call it.
And bear in mind, we were somewhere new.
Yeah.
So that was a trigger as well.
New environment, new things to look at.
Buses and wow, you know, he was just.
It was quite busy-ish in this kind of square that we were in. Not overly busy, but you know, it was busy enough. So we get into this square, and I can't remember exactly what happened. Something happened with the toy. Something else happened. I think it dropped. And from what I can remember, I think the bottom of it opened and the batteries came spilling out, 1,000 batteries all over the floor. So that kind of sent him on the way
that
then.
Was over the edge. That was the straw.
So little Rock was with Mrs. Rock. I'm running down the street trying to catch these batteries that are rolling down the road, and so I'm collecting everything. I could hear them starting to get a bit louder, getting a bit more
breathy,
high rate, and then he just kind of exploded.
it.
So I've managed to come back now. I've got this car. I'm trying to put everything back together as quick as I can, hoping it's not broke. And it just kind of exploded then.
Yeah,
He
we
just...
had to go somewhere because at that age, he was the type of child who would run.
Yeah.
So we had to go somewhere we knew was far away enough from roads.
Yeah, but just before we carry on with that, a day or two before that, we were down, which will tie in with the story. We were down like what was kind of like a boulevard, you know, with beaches.
Like the main.
There's a main road there. We're sitting off on like a rock wall, waiting for the coach to come and take us back to the hotel. And Little Rock just decided to run. There was a scooter coming down the road, so he'd never really done it before, but just decided to leg it to the road. So we've had
space of a split
jump
second.
up and run after him and get him. He decided because he was quite obsessed with the scooters at the time, so if we hadn't took quick action, he would have just run straight into the road. Which ties in with what we're talking about now, which is we had to kind of move, and when we were in this square, away from the main roads, we kind of tucked ourselves like round this bend. There was like a little cafe there.
Which made it way more echoey because
you know, it was a couple of people sitting outside enjoying a nice peaceful meal, you know, and then we turn up. And then that's
just
where
to wreck the day.
we were trying then to figure out how to calm him down without him running away, because we knew 2 days prior to that he had already nearly full on pelt sprint into the road, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, which this road that was in the square was a lot busier. So we were trying to calm him down in as quiet of a place that we possibly could, but there was two women, I think.
Yeah. They were having, obviously they were al fresco dining, you know.
It's kind of,
as you do
it's
in
a bit
Spain.
blurry for me because a lot of my concentration was trying to help him, you know.
Yeah. So John was near him. I was, because he was being aggressive towards me. Yeah. So I had to move away from him, really. Put a distance. Yeah. He was just full on attack. He was 3 at the time, and I know you probably think 3-year-olds, you know, if you don't have a 3-year-old, that they don't hurt when they hit. When they're having a meltdown, they hurt. They can really do some damage. I'm talking broken nose, black eyes, you know, the lot. To the point where there's times where I've probably looked like a battered wife. And never once has that ever happened. So yeah, you know, 3-year-olds can be extremely strong when they want to be.
Well, he decided on this day he was going into strong mode.
He was full on meltdown, and it wasn't going to come. He had to work his way out of that. And we just had to do what we could. So
we got a little bit of an audience then from the local.
We did. We got an audience
from the local cafe,
and it was this. Looking at us, you know, real rude.
Yeah,
you know,
the
just
Hulk.
yeah, real.
That's exactly
Yeah, the Hulk. Yeah, he turns green and everything. But it was so rude, you know, and it was blatantly obvious that they were frustrated that obviously we weren't doing anything to physically stop him. Which what are you supposed to do to a 3-year-old? You know, if they're screaming, are you gonna put your hand over the mouth? No. You know, there's nothing you can do.
Running over, like give him a good rugby tackle, you know,
yeah,
take him
you know,
down,
just
like we're
take
about
him
to
out,
arrest
you
him
know?
or something, yeah.
And they're looking at us to do something. I don't know what they wanted us to do, because I wasn't about to do anything. He needed to come out of his meltdown, get it out of his system. Sorry I've ruined your alfresco dining experience in the middle of Spain, but you know what? You can stay there for as long as you like and carry on enjoying your day. You know, at the end of the day, we're his parents. We're the ones who have to deal with it. So I just stood up and I looked right back at them. And then she quite weaselly kind of walked away, you know, and I was like, yeah, bye.
It was either that or we said, right, Little Rock, see that
Woman there?
cafe there? Let's take the Meltdown over there.
Yeah, let's go over there.
Tables
The
flipping.
worst thing is that we actually had to walk past them as well afterwards, because if we went back the other way, we were passing that shop, and I was not passing that shop again.
More toys.
So, no way. So we did have to walk past them, and
That one police car was enough.
yeah, no more meltdowns. And yeah, they did stare at us, and I just stared back. You know, I don't think they were British people. Not that that makes any difference, but I knew that I wouldn't be able to communicate with them. That obviously they're being rude. I don't know what rude is in Spanish yet, but I'll find out anyway for next time. So that was one experience.
Yeah.
Probably the most recent experience where he's had a meltdown was I mean, there's been so many. There's been parks and things like that.
That's it. What I'm trying to think
Gulliver's
of. There's
World.
been loads of like littler
smaller
situations that you kind of just blot out at times because you know it's kind of you just blot it out because you're sort of concentrating on making sure that he's safe and secure at the time.
To make sure that they're okay.
So it was like what I was saying to Mrs. Rock, like that situation where he 2 days prior to that meltdown where he had ran into the road. If we hadn't dealt with that situation, if we had lost control and started concentrating on arguing with those people or kicking off with them, there's that possibility that Little Rock could have ran off. We're distracted arguing with these people. He could have just ran off, and disappeared, and then we're in a whole nightmare of a situation then. So the control is absolute.
Yeah.
As much as you possibly can. It depends on the situation, because it could turn into a nightmare.
Yes, it could. So the most recent was in Gulliver's World. Hi Galaxy Gamer, welcome. The most recent one was at Gulliver's World, and this was because that's cool to hear, Galaxy. That's really cool. Our son is autistic, and also I have other family members. I have a brother who's autistic, and my cousin as well, who's actually in the chat. We have a lot of viewers as well who are autistic too, so welcome. So in Gulliver's World, it's a theme park, and they're really, really good. They give you fast track tickets if you have a diagnosis of autism, which means you can just go all the way up the exit queue, right to the exit gate, and get on the ride, because autistic people struggle with waiting, especially children. You know, I think all children struggle with waiting anyway, but it can be a trigger for a meltdown for a person with autism. So we get to the rapids, which, you know, people have been queuing for an hour. We get up to the exit gate with our fast track ticket, and some very nice woman shouted over to the fella, the guy who was letting people on the ride, and said, "We've been waiting here for over an hour. Why do they get to go on?" And I'm just like, oh no. Now this was last year, so Edward's old enough now, you know, to understand what's happening, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm smiling, like, you know, ignore them. And she went on and on and on and on, and to the point where I just said, you know, some people have disabilities that you can't see, and I shouted it across. And I think her husband and the people that she was with heard, and they kind of looked at it and spoke and said something, but at which point she stopped. Then we got on the ride, and as we sat on the ride, Edward decided he doesn't want to be on the ride, but it's too late. But it's probably because that woman was standing right next to us, because she was the next one to come on the next.
It was really intimidating for him, and I think
he absolutely was so uncomfortable.
There was no getting out of the situation unless we physically walked out, and then the only way to get out there, you're passing.
Exactly, you've got to pass her anyway.
Is that funny? Yeah, Gulliver's World is not sponsored. Yeah, we're not sponsored by Gulliver's World.
And it was really uncomfortable for Edward, because he's at that age now where he's understanding, you know, what the way people are, and that's more hurtful than, you know, when he was younger and he didn't see the way people reacted or responded. You know, that to me, it's like, right now, no, you're affecting my son, you know, and if I have to, I will say something now. They should have notices up, Mum. They should have a sign near that exit saying, please be kind, not all disabilities are visible.
I think that's what we were talking about when we were all there last time, wasn't it? You know, they do need to
make people
have some
aware.
sort of overhaul with the system. It's great what they do, but it needs to be visibly clear.
Yeah.
So that other people know what's going on.
At least, you know, give people the opportunity to understand that he might have a disability that isn't visible. And, you know, at least then it might prevent something like that happening. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, the ride broke down as we sat there next to this woman. And
we're at the front as well, because we're the next to go.
we were right there.
So it was almost like a big spotlight was just beaming down, you know. And
so he's screaming that he wanted to get out, and he's crying, and we can't, because the ride had started a little bit and then just stopped. So it wasn't safe for us to just get out. Yeah. And it was, that was interesting. Yeah, it really was. And I think Mr. Rock the other week went to the airport, and it was dead quiet. They love going to the airport. Both John and Edward are obsessed with planes. And it was very, very quiet. A group of young schoolgirls came in, started messing around with the wheelchairs. And they were told over the tannoy, you know, please put the wheelchair back, girls, you know, all of that. And one of the young girls shouted, "But I'm autistic." Now, if I'd have been there, but obviously there's only one adult there, so...
No, but I don't know if she was or if she wasn't, but
it was the way she'd...
These girls were messing.
They were messing around.
Which goes back to what I was saying earlier on. I've heard quite a lot of people use autism now as kind of like a discriminative term. Yeah. And I think
it's disgusting.
That was the case here. You know, I can't be 100%, but I just got that vibe. Just you know, and that was interesting to hear as well, because like you say, is that what it's like now?
It is hard to address things in front of them. Yeah.
Just having a look at some of the other comments as well, Kimberly. I've come across so many people like that since I'm autistic and dyslexic. Yeah, it's an eye opener. It really is. You know, we see it more often than what I like, really, which is like that for a lot of things, but especially with the autism. It's difficult even travelling by train. Yeah. It can be difficult without people staring at you because of what you have. Yeah, I've had that a few times as well with Little Rock. You know, he's got a head kind of flick that he does and stuff like that.
He
And
does
you
this
get
a
people
lot,
looking
yeah.
over and things, not saying anything or doing anything, but, you know, just kind of giving it the stare
they're
sometimes.
Like, you know, and the worst
Yeah.
thing to do is to an autistic person is stare, you know, eye contact.
I
It's
think
like,
Alex,
stop
he
it,
was
you
saying,
know?
yeah, I think that was going back to the making things more visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, the shit. We have a lanyard. It's like
yeah.
a sunflower one, but like not a lot of people understand again what
Yeah.
it symbolises.
That's it.
Brett, it's something that needs to be clearly stated everywhere. Still too many places that don't have it yet. And then he says, I had murder with someone in Lancaster because of it. Yeah, it's places like the airport and things, like when you're going on holiday, you can get in contact with the airline that you're flying with. And
the airports,
you know, I have to
as
say
well.
they're quite good to...
They are.
You know,
so it's the other
put things in
people
places,
who-
but
they
it
see
doesn't...
you going over to that disability
still
line, and it's like
doesn't... You know, it's so hard sometimes, because like you say, you go up to a disability, they're looking at you like, oh, you're cutting the queue or something, but what, because we're not in wheelchairs, which
That's
is
it,
nothing discriminative towards that either, you know, it's... But
It's
I'm
an
just,
invisible
just
disability.
speaking the truth, really, where it's people more focusing on physical disabilities, which, yeah, absolutely, but it's also about the invisible ones as well, you know, and there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Roscoe,
see you later, Bun.
See you later, Bon.
Let me just get rid of this dog.
Catch you hopefully tomorrow for the Friday stream. Roscoe, since I have a lanyard from July, in some ways has helped. Unfortunately, crowds for me still remain a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it, you know, and it's a shame, kind of, if you've got businesses or places that have the setups, it still can be the crowds of people sometimes as well that still, there just can be a lot of people that are just ignorant to what's going on, can be selfish. You know, it's kind of like, well, you know, I've paid money, I've, you know, almost like, you know, they should be given godlike treatment when they're there, and there's loads of different scenarios that we've been in, and unfortunately not a lot has changed to kind of educate people to adapt.
That's it. That's it.
If that's the right way of putting it, I hope I've put that in the right way. I don't know.
No worries, Kim. Take care and good luck for Friday.
Yes, good luck. Let us know how you get on, please, after the comp.
And Brett said, yeah, basically lost it on a cleaner. Had gone in the disabled toilets because the main ones were shut, and he turned round to one of my mates and said he ain't disabled. Of course, my mate told me, yes,
that's that ignorance.
I have to use disabled toilets with Edward because of the dryers.
Because you've not showing a physical disability. It's, you know, they just automatically think, well, you're not disabled. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's...
That's not fair.
It's that ignorance,
not fair.
you know. Especially if you're in a workplace environment as well.
Yeah, that's it. You know, come on.
More training's needed.
A lot more training.
Across the board.
Yeah.
So
we have those
businesses, companies and things.
We have those that we like to call the autism deniers as well. So autism is just an excuse for bad behaviour.
Or autism is developed.
Or like it's something you can catch.
You know, we've heard that one, like you catch it, you know, you catch a cold or flu, you know, or...
It's ridiculous.
You know, by parents doing something, it develops mental health, which then leads to autism. There's all that as well. You know, it's... I could go on and on about that one.
So I kicked off, made it very clear that not all of them are visible and that you needed to learn that before making... Good, Brett, good. That's called educating them.
Who from?
Can someone with autism be a pilot? Yes,
Why
they
not?
can. They certainly can. In fact,
I've seen something the other day.
If they're very into their planes, then they're going to know a lot of things about planes.
I read something actually, it popped up this morning. You'd have to research it, but I've not looked into it. But it popped up on my phone about there was a guy, and the title was Autism and World Championship or something. But anyway, this guy is a world champion strongman.
Hello, Evil.
Worked his way all the way up, and he said the gym helped him. And he won a world championship being a strong man. That, you know, you'd have to read a bit more about it, but autism's, it's, you know, I'm not autistic myself, but from everything that I've looked, people that I've spoke to and everything as well, you know, it comes with challenges. It also comes with high rewards as well, because, you know, the skill set, you know, the passion, it's not a barrier to anything. You can still run a normal life, be successful. I mean,
Elon Musk's autistic.
I was about to say, if you go back, you know,
there we go.
we did talk on that in a couple of streams back about people that are
Famous
well
people.
known. Autism, you know, it doesn't mean...
I mean, if they scream when landing and lose control, well, yeah, that wouldn't be good. But if they were really into flying and their planes, then that would be their comfort zone. So, like, you know, if I put Edward in a police car, for example, he would never want to get out of it. So you know, he's not going to scream. The only time he'd scream is getting out of it.
The only screaming that'll be happening, Ufran, is when we do an auto land.
God.
If you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic, Evil. That is quite common these days now. You can get, you know, obviously the technology that you can get is brilliant, but being able to use it as a communication tool is just fantastic. I totally rate that. When I hear someone use autism as an excuse for, it is hurtful for bad behaviour. It does. Do you know what? The worst thing about it is it's those kinds of people that are bad, and, you know, they're the judgmental ones. So don't worry about, you know, what people say. They don't know. What they need to do is go learn.
I'm just laughing at you, Fran. Well, you never know. Next time could be 2 out of 30. We'll sort something out in the group, Ufran, because that should be quite exciting.
An interesting one, speaking of autism deniers, is well-meaning friends. You know, when they think, oh, you know, they'll just grow out of it. Oh, it's just a phase. You know, I think it's highly frustrating as a parent when somebody's telling you that, you know, that it's something that they're going to grow out of, and, you know, or that maybe they're just having maybe they're just having a tantrum, or, you know, and they don't understand. They're not there. They have not seen a meltdown. And, you know, it can't be that bad, and you're like, oh, if only you knew, you know, and it doesn't help because you're trying to vent, and everybody has to vent, and as a parent, we have to vent, just like an autistic person has to vent, just like anyone has to vent. So it's very frustrating when people don't listen, especially when it's friends. That hurts. And I wish sometimes people would be more, you know, don't give me advice. I don't want advice. I just want somebody to listen sometimes. That's the frustrating part as well. Then you've got the people who dismiss autism altogether and just say, nah, no such thing as autism. You're just a bad parent. Or if that kid lived with me, this would never happen. Or, you know, wouldn't have happened if you skipped that vaccine. And you're like, come on, you know, really? Are we going to discuss that vaccines cause autism? Nah, I am not. I'm not going to discuss that. That's just silly.
Sorry, next time it will be 0 out of 30. Yeah, I'm feeling those vibes, especially with us behind the controls. As if your parents love you, they will accept it. A wise man said.
That is very true.
Yeah,
they will.
Because they Roscoe, they are.
There are some people with autism
end up doing well. because they learn from good parenting and understanding as well as patience.
Exactly right.
And that's the hope that
It
we
is.
will forever have.
Yeah.
You know, it's just exactly that.
Yeah, it is. It's about understanding. It's about making everybody around the child understand as well, because, you know, you have got families where, you know, the grandparents might not get it, might not understand it. Luckily, we don't have family like that. They totally accept
we've
and
got
understand it.
Great family
Very good
support
foundation.
network and everything as well. So
Yeah.
that it's just gold.
Yeah.
Very fortunate with that.
And my mum said it's only visible to people who have it
Yeah.
or have parented. Yeah, it really is. You know, it's not something that... It's funny though, because I can, and I'm sure Mr. Rock will back me up on this, now that we have a child with autism, I can kind of sometimes tell when I come across somebody with autism or see another child and they will, you know, behave in a certain way, and I'm like, that's kind of similar to the way Edward behaves, you know, and then it clicks and I'm like, they're probably autistic, because it is, what is it now, one in 4 people are autistic, is that right? Is it one?
I wouldn't like to say.
I'm sure
yeah,
I read somewhere that it's 1 in 4. Tell me if I'm wrong, guys. But
it could be. Yeah.
it's not uncommon.
See Fran's saying as well. I
Who's
think he's
Fran?
rolling off his joke. Next moment he got called
Heinz
beef and
gets
then
a
ran away.
tiger tank.
Okay, no, that was a bad joke. Yeah, when someone doesn't accept it, Heinz gets the tiger tank.
In your accent too, Fran,
You
as
got
well.
the got them World War II quips coming out there. Evil, I never use my ADHD as an excuse for bad behaviour.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I take it your grandparents are, you know, the type that they're behind with the times, which is understandable, you know, that they are a product of the times that they were born in, and sadly Mr. Rock has a chat delay of 30. Just Mr. Rock, not me. Or is it because I interrupt him all the time? That's why I'm sick of having the meetings with someone. It's like they're wanting to know when I'm going to be clear of it. Yeah. I said that to your mum when I had the last one, and she ended up saying to them, what's the point? It's never going. Yeah. I've also had this discussion. Anybody with autism, you are entitled to apply for personal independence payments. If you have a child under the age of 16, you can apply for disability living allowance. The thing is that obviously it's different extremities for different people, so they do have to check. But why you have to go back for a follow-up in about 8 years' time, I don't know, because autism, it's not something that you can be cured. It's not a disease that is going to go away someday. You know, it is a livelihood forever. It's not, you know, you can help. 1 in 100 have autism. Oh, okay. But it's still quite a lot. I'm sure it's more than that now, Mum. I'm sure it is. So anyway, yeah, we have those type of people. Sadly, that, you know, it's just a lack of awareness and ignorance. So I'm going to look at ways you can respond. Number 1, stay calm. Stay calm. Tell that to me when I'm in the moment and somebody's being rude about my child. Yeah, not easy, but it is important to stay calm. You know, at the end of the day, you have to be there for your child. You do not want your child to see you fly off the handle, because that is not going to help as well.
Absolutely not. No.
You know, the question is, how do you respond to rude and ignorant comments from strangers who feel obliged to comment on your child
Weapons.
or parenting ability. Weapons. So yeah, it's resist the urge to lash out.
Yeah.
It's probably going to escalate. You know, if you have I still got to knock them out? My mum said. Yeah, it's hard not to. Take deep, slow breaths and gather yourself. You know, if you escalate it, it's going to get worse.
And like
Just
we
gonna get
mentioned
worse.
it as well, it you know, if you get distracted, it just takes a second.
Yeah.
If we were to get distracted and we take our attention off Little Rock,
It's dangerous.
that's why I'm saying it could turn into a right nightmare. There's 1,000,001 scenarios that could happen, taking that
It's
attention away
dangerous.
for just 1 second. So it's staying as calm as you possibly can.
Yeah, it is. Roscoe said autism is never going to be cured, and those who come up with the so-called BS about curing autism are just bored and dumb. They are. I totally agree. Very ignorant thing to think. Autism you have for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's something you're born with. It's not something that you can get from a vaccine. It's not something that you can get if you have neglectful parents. It's not something that a parent or, you know, anyone around you can cause. It's something that you're born with. I've had a few follow-ups. The last one, your mum said to them, it's not going, so there's no point having the follow-ups, and the person agreed, so I won't have to have one for a very long time, hopefully. Yes, they are. The DWP are looking into that, because I know that there's something coming up in court for them regarding things like autism and ADHD and all of that, you know, that the person doesn't have to come back for another, what I can't remember what they're called. They're like an interview, like a mental health kind of interview. It's not going, so what's the point in going back for like the follow-ups? I don't get it. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even 10 years, what's going to change? They have autism. It's not going to suddenly get better one day. You know, it's not going to suddenly get worse one day. It is what it is, and that's that. So dealing with the people, ignore them. Yes, that is a very good.
Sorry, I don't know that, but you have deal or no deal enabled.
Alexa,
be quiet. You just love it when Alexa thinks you're talking.
even
to her.
Alexa's ignorant. Yeah.
She is. She's rude. She just interrupted me stream. So, yes, sometimes the best thing to do is to ignore and just walk away, but that is very hard. I especially find it really hard to ignore. I do feel like sometimes I at least have to make eye contact with the person. Which can, you know...
Yeah, Alexa does.
She does. She's so rude.
It's always the way.
She comes on the live streams with us like she's part of it.
I'll have to put it on my shoulder next time.
Like a parrot.
So she doesn't feel left out.
So, I'm just reading off my screen here. So sometimes the best way you can respond to rude people is to ignore them altogether, especially if it is clear they are just being downright mean. Like if they say something like you're a terrible parent, anything like that, you know, it's probably best to walk away.
Yeah.
A judgmental stranger does not define you. Not at all. You know, their thoughts and whatever they believe, it doesn't define you as a parent. Doesn't define you as a person. If, you know, if they say you're a terrible person, you know, if you're autistic and you're having a meltdown, doesn't define you what people think. Or your child, it doesn't. Their careless comments are inconsequential.
They're just
Walk
one
away.
person out of the billions in the world. You know, it's that
It's very
you don't
hard,
know
I know.
that a stranger and that's it. But it's, as we all know, it's so much
All teachers right now, yeah, I'm certain,
easier
Ufran, I'm
said than
certain.
done. What's-
Are
all
you
teachers
sure
right
about
now.
that?
Are you sure about that? John Cena. Yeah. Oh, we have conversations with teachers as well.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
we've spreaded some knowledge around with teachers, so we've.
I've offered them books.
Yeah, we've had
I've offered
meetings and
them
everything
my
as
knowledge.
well. We're not afraid of challenging people, regardless of whatever profession they're in as well. You know, if a teacher
Right.
says your child doesn't behave in school, you as a child are gonna die.
Well, it feels like that. It really does. Like,
Or end
I
up
mean, I don't know what kind of school you go to in Germany, but it sounds very interesting indeed. Or arms. So, consider as well, like, that this is quite useful. Consider this as a potential opportunity for education. So if somebody's being ignorant, and you know, as long as it's not a bit leery and getting out of hand or anything, consider saying to them that your child's autistic, or you know, I'm autistic, or whatever. Use it as a springboard. It kind of does stop people in their tracks sometimes, and they go, oh, okay, you know, it can help them to understand. Consider keeping the explanation short though, because your focus is going to be your child or yourself if you're autistic. You can always explain more if they want to know more. That's fine. So for example, if the stranger makes a remark about your child in the midst of a meltdown, you can just say he or she has autism and they're doing their best. You know, they're trying right now. Another idea is buying, you know, if you don't want to say it in front of your child, or you don't want to say it about yourself, get a set of cards, write it down, and hand them out to people. If you look on Etsy, there is thousands upon thousands of people who make badges that say, I have an invisible disability, or I am prone to sensory meltdown, or, you know, there's so many different things for autism that are there. It's fantastic. We've got a few, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've got I am prone to sensory meltdown. Not all disabilities are visible. There's a couple more as well. About masking as well, that I may not show how I feel and things like that. So that people, you know, especially if you're queuing up in a theme park or queuing up in general in a shop, and they see it on the bag that we're holding, then, you know, it can become quite obvious then to them that somebody in our group has a neurological difficulty.
Is that it, Fran? When the school calls your home, you can already move out. Going to Mars is the best option. You might see Elon there. Did he do category 3 landings on Mars? We might be taking a trip there soon.
Autism shouldn't define you,
Yeah.
what you have, and if someone can't accept it, then that's their problem. It is.
For any parent, you just have to go with the flow as you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do have to go with the flow.
Exactly that, yeah.
This response makes me laugh because I think I've used it a few times actually. Unsolicited advice. So when people go, oh, you should do this, or, you know, I've had people say things and I'm like, yeah, thanks, I'll keep that in mind. That's what I'll do. Ta. Like I didn't already know, you know. You're like, oh, well, maybe, you know, if you put them to bed half an hour earlier, it might be just because they're tired. Yeah, ta for that. Thanks, cheers, see you later. As inappropriate as unsolicited advice might be, it's often not made out of place of malice. So it is usually friends and, you know, family who will say things like, oh, you know, if you tried this, and, you know, and you look like you give them that. You know, I've only been a parent for the past nearly 8 years. Of course I've tried that. You know, what don't you try as a parent in general, let alone as a parent to an autistic child? You know, you've tried everything there is in the book and out the book and everything around it. You know, it's just frustrating as a parent to hear that.
At least we wouldn't need parachutes, to Fran, so we don't need to jump out. I just don't know if we'd ever land.
It's something that we're
on
good
the
at.
ground. Probably be in orbit.
Sense of humour. Sense of humour. Right. What you want to be careful with this one though.
Yeah, you do have to be careful with it.
If you want to use
the bant line.
Yeah.
The banter
there's
line.
banter and there's humour and then there's just
There's
being outright snarky. You know.
The kill them with words.
Yeah, kill them with words. That's a good one. That's what we tend to do. So we use humour. It gets us through our lives and our day and everything. You know, it's great deflection. Some parents find that responding with wit or a sense of humour can be effective and a light-hearted way to kind of deflect strangers' comments. And it helps keep you composed as well, because if you make yourself laugh, then sound. So one mum, when asked why her son was so loud, laughed and said, "You're lucky he isn't using his outside voice." So, yes, you know, there's indoor voices and outdoor voices. And Edward doesn't distinguish between the two, but I could see myself using that one. I have seen parents with children who are in the middle of either a tantrum or a meltdown, and, you know, my heart goes out to them because I know how that feels, and I can see the look on their faces and they're embarrassed and it's hard, and I go, don't worry, he's got nothing on my son. You know, I just want them to know they're not alone. Whether their kid's autistic or whether they're not alone.
So since he is autistic, you can't change your hairstyle, can you? Because they don't like changes. Yeah, we spoke about that earlier on. To begin with,
yeah,
it'd be a really big challenge trying to get his hair cut. He's not too bad now, so yeah, in terms of hairstyles and stuff, he's fine with that. Because we usually talk to him beforehand. Explain what's happening.
We just have to
explain with the right person
everything.
who's cutting his hair and stuff.
Yeah,
he's okay with that.
He's okay with change.
Good with the change as long as it's
got to be thoroughly talked about,
explained. Obviously, there's times where changes can't be explained because at any given moment anything can happen. Changes are always happening day to day for everybody. But if something's pre-planned.
Yeah.
Then we can explain it in a way that he understands, as far as we know, enough to get him through the change. If that makes sense, hopefully.
So another great way to respond is to highlight your child's strengths, or your own strengths if you're autistic. You know, people who make comments about your child's behaviour, they're only seeing it for that. They're only commenting about the behaviour. You know, at the end of the day, it's their disability. I don't like that word disability. It's who they are. You know, it's autism, so it's who they are. Share with them something positive about your child. Say, you know what, yeah, okay, yeah, it's so fidgety, but they have trouble sitting, but you know what, they're brilliant at footy. You know, tell them something positive as a response. It can shut people up. Okie dokie, Fran, I hope you enjoy your egg. See you later, mate. So yeah, respond with something positive. Establish boundaries as well. You know, strangers have no right to get involved. They have no right to comment on your parenting skills. They have no right to tell you what you should be doing. So you say, I'm a parent, I'll handle this myself, thanks. And let them be. Just let them be. You what? How do you know? I'm psychic, Ufran. I'm psychic. I knew you'd have an egg. We discussed this the other week. So yeah, leave it be. Tell them I'm the parent. I'll deal with it. Thanks, but no thanks. 2, respond to annoying questions with short and sweet answers. Yes, lots of times when people know your child has autism, they'll rattle off a list of cures. So this is the people who are, autism deniers, or treatments that they've heard about from somewhere, and just a simple, yeah, I've considered that, or I've tried that, thanks, but no, I'll look into it, Tar, just let them give their advice. They're not meaning anything, any malice. Try not to get offended. And talk to your child, about what's happened if they were there. A bit like when we went to Gulliver's World, and that woman, clearly made Edward feel uncomfortable. A couple of weeks back when John was in the airport, that made Edward feel uncomfortable when the girl shouted that she was autistic. It can be hard for them to hear such things like that. So talk to them about it, discuss with them that, people don't understand. Not everybody in the world knows about autism or about how it can affect you. I'll see you later, Roscoe. Take care, mate.
Oh, thanks
Thank
for
you.
tuning in again.
Thanks very much.
See you soon.
You take care, Roscoe. So talk to them about it, even if they can't, even if they're non-verbal, they've got ears, they can still hear and they'll understand. What you don't want is to leave them to have negative internal thoughts about themselves just because of some person.
I've just seen the other bit as well.
I struggled there.
Appreciate your comment, Roscoe.
That's really
just
nice.
managed to be the rest of it there
is.
as well. Yeah, thank you.
Lovely. It's important, that they understand. Not everybody's like that. Sadly, some people are. And it's teaching them about the world as well that we live in, because even if everybody in the world understood about autism, there's always going to be those people who are just horrible.
It'll be forever, but it's about what we try and do here and now.
Yeah.
To try and make it better, for as long as we possibly can. But there'll always be pockets of people out there who are just so in with themselves, just can't see past the tip of their own nose, really.
It's so crucial to let the person with autism, child, adult, whoever, know that it's not their fault that somebody's behaved like that. And I have to tell myself that at times when it's happened. It's not my fault. It's not anything I've done, because as a parent, you're like, well, did I do the right thing in that moment? Is that why they're judging me? And then you've got this guilt on top of anger and on top of worry about your child, and it's just not a good place to be. It's better to go, not my problem, that's their problem. At the end of the day, I've done what I can. There's absolutely nothing wrong with my child. They're not a bad child. It's not their fault, and it's not my fault as a parent. It's their fault. It's the person who's on looking with a judgment to make. It's their fault, not yours. So teach your children that. It's important, modeling a proper response. Don't fly off the handle. It's very hard. I understand, that there's been times where I've heard some horrible things and I've had to go away and cry because it's so hurtful. So hard to talk about this without swearing my head off and, saying what I really wanted to do to those people. But it's not a good mental place to be, and I'm glad that, you know, most of that I've overcome. John's better at that than me. He's always been the calm, chilled person to deal with things, and, you know, he
It's
brings me back
still all
to
goes
it.
in the head,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know, but yeah, it's, you know,
Yeah, he
Just-
brings me
just
back
kind
to
of
earth as well.
keep it in there.
Hi, Mum Bear. We're just coming to the end of our stream.
No, remember?
Well, sort of. We're just chatting about ignorant people. Hope you're good. So, modelling a proper response, best way to start. You know, do not show your child or whoever you're with. One of my favourite topics.
Oh, yes.
Don't show them your anger, and, you know, it's gonna escalate. Your child's gonna feel worse. You're gonna not be in control, and it's just not a good place to be. You know, speaking from experience.
Yeah.
So, is there anything you wanted to add to
Not I
ignorant
think,
people?
Not without me wanting to go 12 rounds with a punch bag, but yeah, I think we've kind of covered everything there, haven't we? So,
Just nearly spat my colon everywhere.
but we've got a couple of things planned, haven't we,
Yes,
over the
we
next
have.
few months for kind of with this side of what we're doing in terms of like the content and that. We're gonna let the Twitch build up a little bit.
Yes, we need followers.
we're
Anyone
gonna-
watching, please hit the follow.
Probably about 2 to 3 months from now, kind of maybe early spring, mid-spring. We've been planning it out. We've got a pretty epic charity stream that we're going to be doing for. There was a couple that we were thinking of, but one that was close to us because we actually used it. About 4 years ago, 5 years ago, not long after
When we
moved
moved in, about 5 years ago
Yeah.
nearly, our garden was a state, and we couldn't afford a charity stream.
Yeah,
We
20, it'll
couldn't
be a
afford
24-hour
to-
one.
It
Yeah.
will be, yeah. We couldn't afford to sort the garden. It needed totally resurfacing. It was dangerous, you know, there was humps and bumps everywhere that Ed would easily fall.
Well, the reason why we moved to this property was for the garden,
'Cause it had
the
a garden,
previous
yeah.
property that we were in just had
3 foot by 7 foot yard. Not
pro-
even
so-
3,
solid
2.5,
concrete, and it was on a slope as well.
Yeah, it was like that.
Yeah, so
That
it was,
wasn't fun.
just-
And it didn't get any sunlight
No.
or anything. And the house had damp. So 24 hours with the rock steady.
well, we've been coming up with some really awesome. It'll be like a full on show. I've the past 2 weeks I've been thinking about it.
The charity that we're wanting to do is called the Family Fund.
Family Fund.
And
Yeah,
they help
yeah.
fund people.
You can
with-
fund up to, is it £500?
Yes. yeah.
For projects and things for disabled people. There's a lot of focus on people with autism and things like that as well. So
They buy tablets for the child with autism
Yeah.
because they're a really, really good educational tool, and also help for the children to be verbal as well.
Yeah,
Even though obviously then some aren't verbal, they can use it to communicate.
yeah.
They will decorate your home for you. They won't come and do it, but they give you the money to do it. If your washing machine breaks and you're struggling, they will give you the money to do that. As long as you've got a child who has a disability, whether that's an invisible one or a visible one, they will help you. And we used them when we moved into our home, and they just gave us £500, and we totally did the garden up, so it was safe and nice for Edward, and he loves it. He doesn't like being out there in the winter because
No.
it's freezing.
But the summer,
He loves it.
the
They
summer
are
is
wonderful,
brilliant
aren't
because we get a little paddling pool out there,
Yes.
and
We've always got a patch of
Um,
grass missing where the pool is.
the kids go out and have picnics on the grass and
Yeah,
everything now.
they do.
We've got a fence there with a gate, so we kind of separate the dog out as well. If
Yeah.
if they're just having some chill time,
Yeah.
it's much better.
just
yeah,
great.
it's safer. Yeah.
It is. And I was able, with the money as well, to get lots of plants that are sensory for him. So we have mint, which he loves to eat.
Yeah, and strawberries,
And
as well, which he has
strawberries.
every year.
Blackberries, flowers that have lovely smells. So we've got jasmine.
We've got a grapevine that's slowly growing.
Grapevine,
That'll
yeah.
probably be another 2-3 years, and then we'll have grapes.
raspberries. We have buddleia, so that all the butterflies come, and he loves the
Yeah.
butterflies, which is why we grow butterflies every year as well.
Yeah.
Well, not every year, but last year we did, so I want to do it again this
Yeah.
year because it's lovely. We have mint in our garden too. Mint's the best. Plant strawberries next to your mint, and you don't get many bugs on your strawberries because the mint smells so strong.
That's it.
It puts them off.
That's what we thought we'd do anyway, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we're going to wait until we've built up a little bit more. So, probably early spring, we're probably going to look at doing it.
Yeah.
It'll be a really good fun show to put on, really. There's going to be a lot of things that we've got kind of planned for it, and
It'll be fun.
it'll be good fun.
I'm
yeah.
laughing because I know what's coming.
So
Secret.
I'd love to do it soon, but like I say, I want things to build up a little bit more
Yeah,
first.
we need a bit more of an audience on,
we're
on Twitch.
8
And
followers away from being affiliated on Twitch,
yeah,
so
double check.
that would help because we can engage with
Yeah.
emotes and all that stuff. 'Cause
7
we can put
followers away.
7 followers, so we can put fun emotes on there and stuff. And I'll probably be doing it just on Twitch,
Yeah.
because it's more interactive, I feel, than YouTube for streaming.
Yeah, it is.
Like
yeah.
doing like the charity
It
stuff,
is way
because
more
that's why I'm saying there's a
interactive.
lot more engagement with the emotes and everything as well, and I just think it'll be really good fun. But we've got a lot planned for it.
Yeah.
There's also another thing that I'll be doing. It probably won't be this year because I'll probably miss the date for it. It'll be next year, which will be abseiling down the Anglican Cathedral. But I'll do that for charity and record it.
Hi, Amelia.
So that should be quite fun. So I'll probably do a little bit of a fundraiser for that next year. And then I'll be absolutely terrified, but I'll be taking myself over the rooftop of the Anglican Cathedral and abseiling all the way down.
Little Rock will love that.
People will get fun and kicks out of watching me probably scream. Coming back down to earth.
We want to get a GoPro so that I can video him, and also we'll have
Yeah,
because
because I won't be able to hold a
That'd
gimbal
be
with the
fun.
camera and the
Like
normal cameras that we've got. I'm going to need both hands on that
Gimbal.
rope.
By the way, a gimbal, guys, is this contraption here. Oh no, that's a camera. Hang on. Where is it? It's fantastic. Everybody should have one of these.
Yeah, we try and use that as much as we can now. If I remember to charge it when I go out on trips.
Yeah.
You basically chuck your phone in it and it stabilises everything, but you get lots of little fun things to do. Like if you download the DJI app, which connects to the gimbal, you can set your phone up to do certain things. So if you get a little tripod with it, you can set it down. You can walk around the room and it'll track you. It's got some cool effects on it as well. We're not sponsored by Gimbal, by the way. We're not trying to sell it. It's just a really fun piece of equipment to have, and it just really stabilises footage.
Your phone, so like that.
When my hands aren't shaking.
It's what makes the videos smooth as butter. Mum, I have no idea. Has anybody got any requests on what we should talk about next week?
We have got some ideas for
autism
topics and
related.
things
Got ideas.
over time, but if there's
Yeah.
anything specific that we can cover, it just gives
We're more
us
than
time
happy
throughout
to
the week
do so.
to talk about it. Yeah.
Or for me to prepare a little because they are helpful.
Yes, Mum made GoPros and all. I wish I had one of Gulliver's Worlds when we went to Gulliver's.
Oh my God.
Gulliver's. We went on a roller coaster, which we need to put the video together because you'll see. We were at the front of the roller coaster, and I had that gimbal with the phone in it. A dodgy move, I know, but it was the only way I could record it at the time. So I've got one hand gripping the bar, and the other one just freely holding the gimbal with the camera. So then, as we got to the top, and the roller coaster went down,
The phone
the
flew
phone
out.
just flipped, G-force kicked in. We're going back up and around the bends, and I'm just holding on to the gimbal because I didn't want it falling off. Yeah, it was...
It was crazy. Just don't use them
It
on
was-
roller coasters. It's
Yeah.
not a good idea. And if you do, you need to glue your phone
Yeah.
to the gimbal.
Which it recorded it at
Eating
least, so
an
when we put the
OCD.
video together, you'll see.
That's a good one,
It was a
Mum,
youth
actually.
moment.
Eating can be a big issue.
Eating an OCD.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like food touching and
Yeah.
food not touching. And
There's a couple
certain
of
textures
examples I
and-
can use as well.
Yeah,
There's a guy who I've not long been recently getting to know, who goes to the school that Little Rock's in. His son's autistic,
And
and
he's
he's
autistic
autistic
as
himself. So he was telling me something interesting about an eating situation in the school. So I could probably, obviously, won't give names out and stuff like that, but I can speak about
Yeah.
that eating situation he was
Edward
telling me
does
about.
have some issue. He's not been too bad, but you know, if we're talking eating, drinking can be an issue for Edward, especially if it's
Yeah.
fizzy.
Fizzy drinks, yeah.
He doesn't do fizz. It literally causes physical pain in his mouth. So yeah, that would be a really good topic.
We can do that.
I'll probably put it with a couple of others. OCD, yes, OCD. People with autism can appear to be very OCD, which is obsessive compulsive. But it is mostly just, what's it called? Schema. So, schematic things like putting, things in line and making sure things are just so. It's because they like the routine and things to be just right. But OCD does tie in with it. Yes, we will discuss that next week, definitely. It mostly comes hand in hand, yes. I think with that as well, I'll also discuss Tourette's, because that's something that I believe Edward does have, Tourette's as well, which can come hand in hand with autism and with OCD and with ADHD, tics and Tourette's style tics. They all come hand in hand. So yes, I think we'll discuss that next week.
Sounds
Tics,
good.
OCD, Tourette's and eating.
Yes.
Yes.
Good topics.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to everybody who's popped in as well. I can see that we've actually, let me end the poll. What was the results? Where's it gone?
It has disappeared.
It's vanished. No. Oh, there we go. It's popped up now.
It's woke up.
Wow. So 13 votes we had on that, guys, and it
Yeah.
was, do you know someone with autism? There was yes, 76% of people know somebody with autism. 15% of people don't know somebody with autism, and 7% of people are not sure, if
yeah.
they know somebody with autism or not. So there we go. Interesting. So I will leave it there, guys, or we will leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we'll be hopping over tomorrow
Yes.
for the usual Friday.
Usual,
Back to business as usual now.
Friday stream. It'll be a Roblox game, no doubt.
Oh,
Unless
yeah.
something drastic happens to Roblox. Say that. Roblox has been a bit iffy.
No. I'd have to come in with the plan B,
Yeah.
which will be Euro Truck or Flight Sim or something, but yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. And we will see you all tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
On our usual Friday stream.
Friday again. No, don't should sing it. No, it's not Friday yet.
Take care, everyone. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye-bye.